4 years, Joni Lamb stood as one of the most recognizable faces in Christian television. To millions of viewers around the world, she was more than a television host. She was the voice that greeted families in the mornings, the woman seated around the famous Daystar table discussing faith, heartbreak, prayer, prophecy, marriage, politics, healing, and the struggles of modern life. Whether people loved her, defended her, criticized her, or questioned her, there is no denying one thing tonight. The passing of Joni Lamb marks the end of a major chapter in Christian broadcasting history. Now, after years of public attention, personal tragedy, family controversy, online backlash, and ongoing scrutiny surrounding the Daystar television network, news has emerged that Joni Lamb has passed away at the age of 65. Reports indicate she died on May 7, 2026, at her home in Bedford, Texas, reportedly following complications connected to a serious back injury. And suddenly, the conversations surrounding her have changed. For months and even years, many people had been closely watching Joni Lamb's public appearances. Viewers repeatedly questioned whether something was wrong with her health. On social media, clips from Daystar broadcasts circulated constantly. Some people claimed she appeared exhausted. Others noticed moments where she seemed emotionally drained. There were viewers who believed the pressure surrounding the network controversies had visibly affected her. Every appearance became a topic of discussion. Every speech was analyzed. Every absence sparked speculation. Now those same conversations have transformed into shock, reflection, grief, and, in some corners of the internet, uncomfortable debates about legacy. The reality is that Joni Lamb lived the last several years of her life under extraordinary public pressure. After the death of her husband Marcus Lamb in 2021 from COVID-related complications, many viewers believed the future of Daystar itself had become uncertain. Marcus and Joni had built the network together from the ground up, transforming it from a small Christian television operation into one of the largest religious broadcasting networks in the world. Daystar eventually reached more than 100 million homes in America and billions internationally through satellite and digital platforms. For decades, Marcus and Joni were viewed almost as inseparable figures in Christian media. Their chemistry on television became part of the identity of the network itself. So when Marcus died, viewers wondered whether Joni would continue carrying the ministry forward alone. But Joni did continue. In fact, many supporters said she appeared determined to keep Daystar alive no matter what criticism came her way. She continued hosting programs. She continued appearing on air almost daily. She continued speaking publicly about faith, perseverance, grief, and spiritual warfare. Some viewers admired her resilience after losing her husband. Others felt she changed dramatically in the years that followed. Then came the controversies. What had once been occasional criticism around prosperity preaching, politics, or televangelism suddenly turned into a full-scale public storm around the Lamb family itself. Allegations involving internal conflict, accusations surrounding the handling of abuse claims within the family, public disagreements involving her son Jonathan Lamb, and endless speculation online placed Daystar under an intense spotlight unlike anything the network had experienced before. The situation deeply divided audiences. Some viewers fiercely defended Joni Lamb, arguing that Daystar had become the target of online attacks, gossip, and sensationalism. Others believed serious questions still remained unanswered. Entire YouTube channels emerged dedicated to analyzing Daystar broadcasts, examining family statements, and debating what was really happening behind the scenes. And through it all, Joni remained the face of the network. That pressure appeared to follow her everywhere. Even discussions about her remarriage became major controversies online. After Marcus Lamb's death, Joni eventually married Doug Weiss in 2023. A relationship that generated both celebration and criticism among Christian audiences. Some supporters encouraged her to move forward and find happiness again after widowhood. Others felt the remarriage happened too quickly or questioned the circumstances surrounding it. Suddenly, everything connected to Joni Lamb became controversial. Her health, her family, her leadership, her marriage, her finances, her decisions, her ministry. And perhaps that is why news of her passing feels so surreal to many people tonight. Because regardless of where people stood on the controversies, Joni Lamb remained one of the central figures in Christian television for decades. For many viewers, she had simply always been there. There are people who literally grew up watching her. Families watched Daystar during morning devotionals before school. Elderly viewers left the network running throughout the day. Christian households across America recognized the familiar voices and faces of Daystar almost as part of daily routine. In countless homes, Joni Lamb represented encouragement during sickness, prayer during grief, and spiritual comfort during uncertainty. At the same time, critics argued that Daystar symbolized the darker side of televangelism, wealth, celebrity ministry culture, political influence, and unchecked religious power. That tension followed Joni Lamb right until the end of her life. What makes this story even more emotional for many viewers is the fact that her passing comes after years of visible personal loss. First came Marcus Lamb's death. Then came family division. Then public scandal. Then endless internet scrutiny. Then rumors surrounding her physical condition. And now, suddenly, the woman at the center of it all is gone. Across social media tonight, reactions have been deeply mixed. Some supporters are mourning the loss of a woman they viewed as a faithful Christian broadcaster who dedicated her life to ministry. Others are reflecting more critically on the unresolved controversies that surrounded the Daystar empire in recent years. Some former viewers say they stopped watching long ago but still feel shocked by the news. Even critics who openly challenged Daystar's leadership are acknowledging the seriousness of the moment and expressing sympathy for the family. And honestly, that may be the true complexity of Joni Lamb's legacy. She was never a simple public figure. To supporters, she was a survivor who endured unimaginable grief while continuing to lead one of the world's largest Christian networks. To critics, she represented a ministry culture they believed needed accountability and transparency. To longtime viewers, she was simply familiar, someone whose voice had become part of their lives for years. But no matter the perspective, her influence on Christian broadcasting cannot be ignored. Long before social media influencers and online pastors became dominant, Joni Lamb helped shape religious television into a global operation. Together with Marcus, she transformed Daystar into a media powerhouse. They built studios, launched international broadcasts, created original programming, and positioned Daystar among the biggest names in faith-based television. And unlike many television personalities who eventually faded away, Joni remained active until very recently. That is part of what makes this news feel sudden. Many viewers had continued seeing her regularly on broadcasts, despite ongoing speculation about her health. Some noticed signs of fatigue. Others thought she looked emotionally overwhelmed at times. But few truly expected this outcome now. In hindsight, many online discussions about her appearance and physical condition are likely to be revisited differently after her passing. People who once speculated about visible stress or health struggles are now reflecting on how much pressure she may have been carrying privately. Because regardless of public opinion, the reality is that living under constant controversy changes people. And for Joni Lamb, the scrutiny became relentless. Videos analyzing her behavior accumulated millions of views online. Comment sections turned into battlefields between supporters and critics. Rumors spread daily. Every public statement became headline material. Even ordinary moments from broadcasts were dissected frame by frame across YouTube, Reddit, TikTok, and Christian media circles. At times, the the Daystar controversy seemed less like a ministry dispute and more like a full-scale public family collapse happening in real time before millions of viewers. Yet Joni kept appearing on camera. She kept talking about faith. She kept defending the ministry. She kept insisting that Daystar would continue moving forward. Now many people are wondering what happens next. What becomes of Daystar without Marcus and Joni Lamb? That question suddenly feels enormous tonight. The network had already faced uncertainty following Marcus Lamb's death. But Joni remained the central authority figure keeping the organization together publicly. With her passing, questions about leadership succession, internal family dynamics, and the future direction of the network are likely to intensify dramatically. Will the family reconcile? Will leadership shift again? Will the controversies finally settle down, or will they grow even larger? Right now, nobody truly knows. What is clear is that this moment closes one of the most dramatic eras in Christian broadcasting history. An era filled with enormous growth, influence, wealth, faith, scandal, grief, loyalty, criticism, division, and public fascination. And perhaps the most haunting part of this story is how deeply human it became in the end. Because behind the television lights, behind the broadcasts, behind the ministry branding and public statements, there was still a woman navigating loss, pressure, family conflict, aging, public scrutiny, and personal pain in front of millions of people. That reality is impossible to ignore tonight. For years, viewers debated Joni Lamb almost as a symbol, either defending her fiercely or criticizing her intensely. But death has a way of forcing people to pause and remember that public figures are still human beings. A mother, a grandmother, a widow, a broadcaster, a leader, a controversial figure, a grieving woman, a person who carried both admiration and criticism simultaneously. And now, someone whose story has suddenly come to an end. There is also something striking about the timing of her death when viewed against the backdrop of the past several years. Much of the public conversation surrounding Daystar had become increasingly intense and emotionally charged. Some former supporters turned against the ministry. Some viewers accused the network of prioritizing image over accountability. Others insisted Daystar itself was under spiritual attack from critics and media outlets. In many ways, Joni Lamb became the center of those competing narratives. Every statement she made was interpreted differently depending on who was listening. To supporters, she sounded courageous. To critics, she sounded defensive. To others, she sounded exhausted. Now, suddenly, the arguments themselves feel quieter tonight. Instead, people are reflecting. Some are remembering old broadcasts from decades ago. Some are revisiting Marcus and Joni's early ministry years. Some are replaying moments where the couple spoke about faith and perseverance together. Others are discussing unresolved controversies and wondering whether the full truth behind various family conflicts will ever fully emerge. And many people are simply stunned by how quickly everything changed. One of the most talked about aspects tonight is how both Marcus and Joni Lamb are now gone within just a few years of each other. For long-time viewers, that reality feels almost impossible to process. For decades, they appeared inseparable on television screens across the world. Now both founders of Daystar are gone. That image alone carries enormous emotional weight for supporters of the ministry. At the same time, critics argue that Joni Lamb's death does not erase the difficult conversations surrounding Daystar's controversies. Some online discussions are already debating how history will ultimately remember her leadership during the network's most turbulent years. And perhaps that debate will continue for years. Because Joni Lamb's legacy is not simple. It is complicated. It includes remarkable success and painful controversy. It includes devotion and division. It includes ministry influence and public criticism. It includes personal resilience and intense scrutiny. But whether people admired her or challenged her, the impact she had on Christian television culture is undeniable. There are few figures in modern religious broadcasting whose lives became so publicly intertwined with both faith and controversy at the same time. Tonight, viewers around the world are remembering the woman who spent decades speaking directly into television cameras about hope, prayer, healing, restoration, and trusting God through life's storms. Ironically, many now believe her own life became one of those storms in the end. And maybe that is why this news feels so heavy. Because it does not feel like the ending of a distant celebrity story. For many viewers, it feels personal. It feels like the closing scene of a long chapter they watched unfold in real time for years. The rise of Daystar. The success. The scandals. The grief. The remarriage. The family conflict. The backlash. The speculation about her health. And now, finally, the news nobody fully expected to hear this soon. Joni Lamb is gone. Give me B.